Long Sai had certainly heard about Mr. Fui and even thought about befriending him as well, but what he did not know was that Mr. Fui was actually Shin Nianma. It was the middle of the night. What was the man doing here? Normally, Long Sai would meet and welcome his guests as soon as he could, especially if someone honorable came to visit. However, he could not leave Gu Shijiu alone at this critical moment. She needed him to keep her alive. He gave an order to the servant, "Tell him that I am occupied at the moment and ask him to come back 3 days later." The servant acknowledged and swiftly left, but he returned a few moments later and reported. "General, he said he has something urgent. He needs to see you now." Long Sai was obviously annoyed. "I am not seeing him. Go away." He would not even meet the Celestial Emperor even if he were here now. The servant was shocked and left. This was the first time for the servant to experience such great frustration from his master. He turned around and almost bumped into another man. He took a few steps back and acknowledged, "Fui. Mr. Fui." Mr. Fui only gave him a soft smile and patted on his shoulder. "You may leave," he reassured. Therefore, the servant left with a clueless look. Long Sai noticed the chaos outside and was irritated. Soon, the doors were slammed open. A man dressed in a purple robe entered with heavy steps. "Why did General Long keep me at a distance? What if there were urgent military situations that require your immediate attention?" The pearls in the private room shone brightly, bright enough for Long Sai to see his face clearly. It was their first encounter, but he felt a strange sense of familiarity when he saw Mr. Fui. What surprised him more was that he felt a sense of precaution and hostility towards a man he had never met. He could tell that Mr. Fui's kung fu was extraordinary. He was at least at the level of a golden immortal. He retained a strong aura in the room. Long Sai could not help but feel a little intimidated. "Mr. Fui, why are you here in the depth of the night?" "I have an important matter to attend to, so I really do not have time to entertain you," Long Sai explained calmly. He was concerned that the man's spiritual power was much stronger than his. Otherwise, he would have kept the man out of his residence by force. "Are you eager to attend to someone else's treatment?" Caught by the surprising question, Long Sai stood frozen. He could not figure out Mr. Fui's purpose of visit, or his identity. He would not tell him about Gu Zijia's injuries until he had a better idea. What if Mr. Fui was actually one of the opponents who hunted for her? What if he was with the group of the 10 masters? Gu Shijiu was right in the room, separated only by a door panel. The intruding guest would find out about her whereabouts very easily. Long Sai took a deep breath, then offered, "Shall we talk about this outside?" He had to get the man away from the room. The wooden tub caught Di Fui's attention. "General Long seems to be in a good mood for a midnight herbal bath." "Is that true? This is how I like to meditate. Please excuse me. This is not the place for a proper talk. Let us go outside," Long Sai offered again, while intentionally blocking the entrance. "There is no need for that. I am here to look for someone." Di Fui tried to look behind the closed doors that were blocked behind Long Sai. There seemed to be some movements in the room. Was General Long going to have his bath together with a woman? It did not seem so. As far as he was concerned, Long Sai was a very disciplined man. He did not have a wife nor a concubine. He did not get close to his personal female servants as well. Who would the woman be? Long Sai sensed that something was not right and quickly changed the topic. "Are you looking for?" "I do not have many people in my residence. Follow me, and I shall call them out to let you see their faces one by one." "That is unnecessary. She should be here." With a flash, Long Sai could barely see as Di Fui passed by him quickly. The next thing he knew was that the door was slammed open. Everything in the room could be viewed. Long Sai was facing the outside, so he did not see what was going on in the room. Di Fui was already behind him facing directly inside the room, so he had a clear view. Long Sai wanted to turn around and see what was really happening, but Di Fui obviously disapproved. He then moved very quickly behind him and gave him a strong push. Di Fui was too quick. Though Long Sai was generally known for his inexhaustible agility, he was nothing compared to Di Fui. He stumbled across the corridor as a result of the momentum of Di Fui's push, and almost hit a pillar head-on. Even with the virtue of patience, Long Sai could no longer hold his frustration. Bang! He heard a loud noise and turned quickly around, only to notice that Di Fui forcefully shut the doors again. Di Fui stood, blocking the doors. There were some doubts in his eyes. What are you planning to do, Overlord Long? Di Fui then saw that Gu Shijiu had been completely undressed, lying naked on the bed. The visual impact was too much for the young adult. Di Fui did not fix his eyes on her for long. Immediately, he looked away and shut the doors to prevent Long Sai from seeing her naked. Di Fui was still an innocent and unsophisticated young man. He knew about these things, but seeing the naked body of a woman was really something else. The visual impact was intense. His heart throbbed in response. Even with a quick glance, he clearly saw how bad Gu Zijia's complexion looked. She was severely injured but still remained conscious. She wanted to pull the blanket across to keep her body covered. However, her strength certainly did not match her intention. She saw him, too. Their eyes met for a brief moment. There was another wooden tub in the room, braving the air bubbles. It looked just as same as the wooden tub outside. The liquid medicine in the tubs was the same, too, both dark green in color. Di Fui had privately carried out a thorough investigation about Long Sai, so he knew that he was not an evil man. Long Sai certainly did not prepare the tubs for a bath, knowing how severe Gu Zijia's condition was. It must be a way to treat Gu Zijia's wounds. Di Fui was smart enough to work out the entire scheme of the treatment process, but he did not feel comfortable about it. He had always thought silently to himself that he would make Gu Shijiu his wife someday. He was, however, still an innocent virgin. Seeing her naked body for the first time had certainly shocked him to his core. He felt enraged at the thought of Long Sai seeing the same view he did. On the other hand, Long Sai was deeply upset that Mr. Fui was looking at Gu Shijiu naked. He could safely assume that Gu Shijiu was already naked on the bed. Even as Gu Zijia's closest friend, he had never seen her naked before. He used to have the initiative to befriend Mr. Fui. At the very moment, the idea was tossed away. His only wish now was to get rid of the man. You have intruded my residence, and forcefully opened the door to my private room. Do you really think you have the right to ask me what I am about to do? Long Sai clenched his fists. He was ready to fight Di Fui if necessary. However, Di Fui gave him a surprising announcement. I am her fiancé. The sole purpose of my visit is to find her. Long Sai stood in disbelief. Nonsense. We have known each other for many years, and I have never heard about her fiancé. Di Fui gave him a profound look. He knew that they had known each other for a very long time. When he was still a baby, he saw them before, enjoying the view of lanterns together. He heaved a sigh to dismiss the sudden realization. Gu Zijia's injuries required immediate attention. I am Shin Nianma. Di Fui decided to enlighten him with another shocking announcement. She has publicly declared that I am her fiancé and we will soon be married, he said confidently. Long Sai did not know what to say. He was speechless. He had heard about the rumors, but never actually cared. He liked Gu Shijiu, so he would pay attention to the men or even friends around her. He would take precaution against the previous prince, Yun Yanli, but certainly not Shin Nianma. Who would pay attention to a child of 6 years old? Therefore, he disposed of the rumors with a sneer, for he knew that Gu Shijiu was not serious about it. She only said it to trigger the people. However, upon seeing the handsome man, whose face was intricate and beautiful, Long Sai could not look at him in the same way anymore. Aren't you Mr. Fui? How can you be the prince, Shin Nianma? Long Sai could not process what we heard. When Di Fui traveled the world, he preferred to keep his parents' identity concealed. He did not want others to find out who he truly was, so he had to use a nickname. He wanted to conquer the world with his own two hands, so he would not expose his identity in public. However, his identity was not important anymore. He did not want to argue with Long Sai any further about who he was and where he came from. Instantly, he revealed the bracelet. The glass dragon bracelet shone brightly under the luminescence of the pearl in Long Sai's residence. Mr. Fui is the name I used to travel the world. Long Sai felt an impulse to back off. During Shin Nianmo's birthday, he was there as a guard. He was not entitled enough to enter the hall, but he had certainly heard about the bracelet that was given to the little prince, a bracelet that he was unable to take off ever since. There were great artists at the birthday party, so they immediately put the view of the bracelet down on paper. Long Sai had seen the drawing before. It looked just the same as the one Di Fui currently wore. He really was Shin Nianmo. Long Sai did not know what to feel. He did not know enough about what happened between Gu Shijiu and Shin Nianmo, but he was sure about one thing: her words were only said in a fit of rage, she did not mean any of it. Long Sai took a deep breath before clarifying, it is a misunderstanding. What Shijiu has for you is only friendship, not love. She probably said so because of the rage triggered by your fellow masters. She did not mean any of the things she said, so you should not be concerned. If there were any inconveniences caused, we shall explain the situation to your masters when she gets better. Di Fui looked at him fixedly. We will figure it out between us, so there is no need for you to be concerned. About her injuries, there is no time to delay. Are you sure that you want this conversation right now? Long Sai was anxious, too. I was about to carry out the treatment for her. Had you not interrupted, we would have already started. Di Fui was curious about the two wooden tubs. How are you going to carry out the treatment? What is up with the two tubs? Long Sai frowned. He would not usually make any explanations to anyone about what he did. He certainly would not feel like explaining himself to a man who claimed to be Gu Zijia's fiancé. Di Fui insisted on getting to the bottom of the matter. If Long Sai refused to explain, he would certainly not let him carry out the treatment for Gu Shijiu. Also, Long Sai could not kick the young man out of his house, for he was more powerful than him, both in terms of physical strength and social rank. Without a choice, Long Sai had to tell him. Long Sai started by telling him the general issues of Gu Zijia's injuries, including the proposition that she made about the treatment. Di Fui did not interrupt Long Sai. Once finished, he gave him two options. The first option was a fight. Whoever won would be the one carrying out the treatment for Gu Shijiu. The second option was a voluntary withdrawal. Long Sai would stand away and guard the doors while Di Fui carried out the treatment for Gu Shijiu. Once it was done, he would then visit spiritual master Shanjing to ask for the cure for her complete recovery. Long Sai was outraged. Either way, Di Fui would end up being the one carrying out the treatment. He tried to reason with Di Fui, Your Highness, the steps of the treatment are extremely complicated. I cannot explain everything briefly in plain words. Her injuries are too severe to allow any mistakes. If you really want the best for her, let's not have this argument at this critical moment. He was sincere to resolve the complication, but Di Fui remained unshakable in his determination. Don't worry. You only have to tell me the correct steps, and I shall be sure that nothing will go wrong. Your Highness. I have decided. Long Sai did not know what to do. He took a few breaths while finding the right words to say. I believe that you really like her. Why are you risking her life? Di Fui hugged his arms and said nothing more. He continued to glance at Long Sai coldly. Apparently, he would not back off. Long Sai continued scornfully, It seems to me that you do not really appreciate her, after all. Di Fui looked away and answered coldly, You have mistaken. I never said that I like her. However, if she has claimed to be my fiancée, I will be sure to take care of her innocence. I will not allow another man to see her naked body. Long Sai was speechless. Frustrated, he had to set the matter straight. She will explain the situation to you later. I will wait for her explanation, but before that, I am the one who treats her injuries. Long Sai could not say anything more. There was no time to lose. He had to agree to let Di Fui carry out the treatment on his behalf. However, he did have one condition. Zijia's injuries cannot be delayed any longer. You have to learn the steps in half an hour. If not, I will do it myself. I cannot watch as she dies. All right. Di Fui agreed swiftly. The treatment required the use of spiritual power, so the steps were very complicated. He had to master the use of spells and the level of strength of his spiritual power. Long Sai knew about the treatment from the medical books given by Gu Shijiu. He took approximately 10 days to get a grasp of the concept and a month to understand it fully. However, he had never executed it. When Long Sai explained to Di Fui, he purposely talked and acted swiftly. He wanted to make Di Fui realize the difficulties that lied in these complicated steps so that he would withdraw from it. After his explanation, Di Fui began to demonstrate. All his steps were correct, seemingly smoother. Long Sai could not help but think that he must have learned these steps before. However, if he had, an arrogant man like him would not have wasted time listening to Long Sai's explanation. Therefore, he must be scarily smart. Long Sai did not know what to feel. After the demonstration, Di Fui asked, "How was it?" "The steps are correct, but it is not easy to handle the different strengths of your spiritual power. Things can go wrong very easily." Di Fui interrupted, "If you have taught me right, I will make sure nothing goes wrong." Long Sai was still worried, so he requested for another demonstration. Di Fui had to tell him when and how he would use his spiritual power. Di Fui gave him a frustrated look. Then, he agreed quietly and started to perform another demonstration. As a result, his second demonstration went even smoother than his first attempt. The use of spells was better. Moreover, the handling of his spiritual power with different strengths at different times was quite brilliant. Under the circumstances, Long Sai could not argue with him anymore. In a whirl, Gu Shijiu felt quite disoriented. She tried her very best to stay awake. When Di Fui came, she did not notice his presence due to the constant drumming in her ears. Moreover, she kept suffering from blackouts, so she had to utilize all her strength just to stay awake. Earlier, the female servant only acted according to Long Sai's orders to underdress Gu Shijiu quickly. What happened outside of the room was not her concern. However, the servant had certainly heard Di Fui, but she thought that the unexpected guest would not intrude, so she continued to undress Gu Shijiu, piece by piece. All was good until Di Fui pushed the door open. The servant was utterly surprised. She was trained not to scream out of fear. However, overwhelmed by the shocking moment, she forgot to put some covers on Gu Shijiu. She stood frozen until the moment Di Fui shut the door again. Only then did she realize the awkwardness of the situation and quickly covered up Gu Zijia's naked body. The surprise entry brought some senses back to Gu Zijia's whirling mind. When she saw Di Fui at the door, she felt deeply offended. Her blood was boiling, changing her pale complexion to a bit pinkish. She could not help but curse in her head. She heard about the conversation between Di Fui and Long Sai, and she did not know whether to cry or to laugh at the dumbfounding matter. She could not reach the child when she needed him most. For a few times, he refused even to pick up his directed audio spell, causing her the trouble at the Fengyun Valley. Finally, the child approached her first this time. When Di Fui offered to carry out the treatment, Gu Shijiu disagreed to the idea, but she could hardly voice her opinion. She tried very hard, but only managed to groan very weakly. They could not hear her, for sure. She listened as the conversation came to an end. Then, she heard Di Fui telling Long Sai to go away. "You should leave," he said. Obviously, the prince was about to undress himself. He did not want Long Sai's company. Without a choice, Long Sai had to leave. He told the servant in the room to help Gu Shizhou get ready before he left. Your Highness, whenever you are ready, I shall move the wooden tub into the room for you. There is no need for that. I have my own ways. You only have to guard the door, Di Fui answered coldly. Long Sai left abruptly. A few moments later, Gu Shizhou heard Di Fui asking, Is everything ready? The servant was busy carrying Gu Shizhou. She tried to place Gu Shizhou securely in the wooden bath. Done. I am done, she answered. The door was once again open. In a blur, Gu Shizhou could see beyond the steam that a wooden tub was moving into the room, as though it had wings. Swiftly, it placed itself next to her tub. The tubs sat adjacent to one another. Soaked in the water, they sat facing each other, too. Their eyes met, and Gu Shizhou could feel her heart throbbing. Her heartbeat slowly increased. It was the first time for her to see Shen Nianma half-naked in his adult body. Di Fui's black hair was nicely tied and secured with a jade hairpin. A butterfly-designed mask covered his face, leaving only his faint red lips and clear black eyes exposed. His body was completely soaked in the water full of herbs, revealing only his shoulders. His skin was soft and smooth, but this fact did not diminish his masculinity. His toned physique added nobility to his figure of perfect elegance. His arms rested on the edge of the tub while the water rippled around his body, along with the floating herbs. He sat casually in the tub with his legs crossed, giving off a sense of overwhelming charm. Gu Shizhou did not say anything, but the servant was obviously awestruck by his charm. She stood with her cheeks flushed. Leave now. Di Fui commanded. The was standing next to Gu Shizhou at the time, giving her support. Her heart started to throb, but she refused to go out. This cannot be. I need to support Miss Gu. She is too weak to sit herself up, she emphasized. Di Fui said nothing more. This time, he aimed a strike at her. He flickered a spell and a glimpse of light flashed by, carrying the servant straight out of the room. Bang! The door was shut, once again. They were the only ones in the room now. Gu Zijia's body was really weak. Without support, she could not even sit up. She collapsed and slowly sank into the water. Luckily, Di Fui saw it and acted quickly. As soon as the servant was gone, he quickly held Gu Shizhou on her shoulders to help her sit upright. He made contact with her bare shoulders and could not help but feel a burning sensation. The temperature of the water was hot, but his palms felt hotter. She could feel the heat, slowly entering her veins. Her pale face started to flush crimson as a result of the heat transfer. She felt more awake in the water. Bewildered, she could not help but look at Shen Nianma with a mixture of admiration and frustration. She really could not understand what the child was thinking. He should have known that everything she said was to vent her rage. Instead of disregarding her words, he took them seriously and treated her like his fiancée. In order to carry out the treatment, she risked everything to ask Long Sai for his help. She could not care less about the courtesy between a man and a woman anymore. If the one who came in were Long Sai, she would be able to keep calm and cooperate with him. Instead, the one who came in was Shen Nianma. Distracted? Di Fui asked. Gu Shizhou looked at him with a sense of helplessness in her eyes. Nianma, Di Fui let go of her shoulder, and she started sinking again. Her shoulders, neck, chin, and lips slowly went into the water. Before her entire head was covered in water, he raised his hands to support her and keep her head afloat. He was expecting her to be scared and afraid. On the contrary, she never lost her composure. She looked at him as if he was a naughty child. Call me Fui. He reminded her. Gu Shizhou did not want to argue with him. Fui, you, before she could finish her sentence, he continued, you do not have to say anything. I know what you want to tell me. Are you going to say that those were things you said out of anger? And, you never really meant them and that you only see me as a child? A target of your mission? 007 Gu Shizhou blinked her eyes in despair as Di Fui continued, "Are you going to say that the steps of the triumphant recovery treatment are very complicated and that it is impossible for me to master everything in such a short time? Are you afraid that I am going to make mistakes at some point of the treatment and also tell me that your injuries are too severe to allow any misjudgment?" Gu Shizhou remained quiet, for he had said everything that she wanted to say. Di Fui gave her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry. I have completely mastered the steps. I will not allow anything bad to happen to you." He was a brilliant child and a quick learner, but he never thought that he would master the steps so quickly. It seemed rather natural to him, as though he had already learned the steps ages ago. In fact, Long Sai's explanation served more like a reminder for him to recall everything at once. His eyes met Gu Zijia's eyes again. "I am not sure about other skills, but with regards to the technique of this medical treatment, I can say that I know even more than General Long." Gu Shizhou certainly did not believe his arrogant words. She did not voice out her concerns, but her eyes were obviously filled with doubts. "Wait for it." Di Fui continued to annoy Gu Shizhou. She was fed up with him. She would definitely splash him with water if she had the strength. She should be the one telling him to wait. However, at this very moment, she could not argue with him. He had already soaked his body in the tub next to her, and Long Sai had no other option. She heaved a sigh, surrendering to his dominance. She felt as if she had to return the favors that she owed him from his previous life, which was why the troubles kept coming back at her. "Nianma, if you die, I will get revenge for you." Di Fui interrupted her. All Gu Shizhou wanted to say was that if she died, she would no longer chase him for the mission. He did not give her a chance to finish her sentence. Her chest hurt badly, the pain was unbearable. The color on her face started to fade again while cold sweat started to break out. Di Fui supported her shoulder with one hand and with his other hand, he fed her a red pill. "Come. Take it." The pill shone brightly. Surprisingly, the medicine was actually a tablet. It had a rather sweet scent. Gu Shizhou knew of many pills but had never seen this one before. "What is this?" "A rare tablet that is good for your injuries. I have had too many in a day." She was not allowed to eat too many pills in a day, no matter how effective they were. Moreover, different medicines may lead to opposing effects. She was weak, so her body could not withstand the side effects. "Don't worry. This tablet will not clash with any other pills," Di Fui reassured her. He seemed to understand her concern, but she still refused to open her mouth. "Do you think that I am going to poison you?" He could not help but let out a sarcastic remark. She did not think about him in such a vicious way, she was only worried that he might administer her with the wrong tablet. Gu Shizhou sighed. "Tell me about its properties." Gu Shizhou insisted. Di Fui looked at her again. "This tablet was given to me by my father. In times of great danger, the tablet will be able to restore at least half of your strength, as long as you are still alive." Gu Shizhou was surprised. She had heard about the medical skills of Shinjiuli, who was known as the best doctor in the continent. There was nothing he could not cure. Even when one's soul was broken, he was still able to restore his or her life. The pill from the Divine Lord must be very effective. However, he had given this to his son to keep him safe. "About the tablet, how many do you have?" Gu Shizhou wanted to know. "One." "Why? If you give it to me now, what if you need it in the future?" "Don't worry. I am sure that that day will never come. Stop talking nonsense. Eat it now." Di Fui was unusually confident. He put the tablet into her mouth and demanded, "Be good. Take the pill." His tone was as familiar as ever. Gu Shizhou was amused and at the same time felt a bit bitter. However, she did not reject his offer this time, she ingested the tablet. The tablet smelled nice but tasted bad. Gu Zijia's face wrinkled in an ungainly fashion. She took a while to swallow it. By that time, her tongue was already numb from the bad taste. Di Fui took out another sweet and put it into her mouth. It will help soothe the taste. The sweetness finally suppressed the bad taste that lingered at the tip of on her tongue. It was the taste of her favorite sweet, maple sugar. She finally felt better. She looked at him in disbelief. She had certainly not expected that he would prepare everything so thoughtfully. Perhaps it was because he was still young, every child fancied sweets. What surprised her more was that they both shared the same tastes. Come. Let me transfer some spiritual power to help you dissolve the tablet. Di Fui pulled her hands over and covered her palms to make the connection. He then transferred his spiritual power to put the tablet into effect. The tablet was indeed magical. Soon after she swallowed it, she could tell that the tablet was already taking effect. The pain that had been keeping her on edge finally started to fade. Gu Shijiu even felt that her damaged organs were beginning to heal themselves. She was suddenly hopeful. Perhaps with the tablet, they would not have to perform the triumphant recovery treatment anymore. She was relieved of the pain and was also mentally more eased, at least she could sit properly in the tub now. She opened her eyes, only to catch Di Fui's unmoving gaze. Her heart skipped a beat. Di Fui had taken his mask off, revealing his true face. His facial features were intricately crafted, looking so surreal. His face must have been the work of God. Features like this were enough to cause an entire city to fall, which was why he had to wear his mask at all times. Otherwise, he would have to deal with many more unwanted love affairs. His face was so familiar to Gu Shijiu. Somehow she had the irrational impulse of wrapping herself in his arms. Fortunately, that impulse only lasted for a brief second. Soon, her logic took over. How can she shamelessly have a crush on a child? Di Fui's pitch-black eyes were looking at her beautiful face fixedly. He seemed distracted too. Their eyes met, and there was a sense of awkwardness in the air. He hesitated a little, then asked a round of insignificant questions. Has the tablet started to take effect? Are you still in pain? Do you want me to transfer more spiritual power to you? Do you still taste the bitterness on your tongue? I still have more sweets. He had been acting arrogantly since he entered the room and spoke sarcastically, but all of a sudden, his attitude changed. He became so caring to her. Gu Shijiu did not know how to react to this change. Why did the child change his mind? Her hesitation reminded Di Fui that he might have been a little overwhelming. Suddenly, he moved his body closer to hers and gave her a smile. Are you attracted by my beauty? Are you touched? His smile did not seem entirely innocent, he was teasing her. Because they were so close, she could feel his warm breaths on her face. Gu Shijiu was rather confused at this time. Gu Shijiu pushed his face back and said, Your face is indeed a work of art. I feel like I have lost myself in your overwhelming beauty. However, you are young, it is not an appropriate time to flirt. Early maturity does no good to you. Di Fui was utterly surprised. He was distracted by Gu Zijia's appearance, mostly because he somehow felt that her face seemed familiar. He noticed that his heartbeat was irregular every time he looked at her, it was as though he had admired her beauty many years ago. The greater surprise was that he could feel an involuntary erection while getting caught in her beauty. Having dedicated his entire life to growth and practice, Di Fui had never felt the urge in this sort of sexual need. He almost forgot that he actually needed it. He did not expect that such a mysterious woman would give him this sort of reaction. He had traveled the world and encountered female celestial beings who would try to seduce him. Some were brave and open. They had even stripped themselves naked to show off their bare bodies in front of him. However, it gave him no response. Instead, he was disgusted. Before the women could get closer, he had already pushed them far away. These sexy women could not even get him interested. Although Gu Shijiu was naked, most of her body was submerged in the water. Furthermore, there was a layer of floating herbs on the surface, so he could not see the rest of her body. She cared about her decency, so she only revealed her shoulders and a small part of her chest above the water. Logically, this restricted view should not be able to excite him. However, it had already happened twice. When their eyes met, he had to bring up a conversation to cover his awkwardness. Fortunately, her response did not make him feel so awkward anymore. Young? The woman must be thinking that he was still a child. He smiled at her and put his arm on her shoulder. Young? Are you sure? Baffled, Gu Shizhou was anxious when he made skin contact. She could feel the warmth of his skin. In fact, it was rather hot now. Her eyes darkened when she looked at him. Like an attraction, she felt as though she was pulled closer and closer into his eyes. The child always liked to act like an adult to prevent others from thinking that he was still young. Smartly, Gu Shizhou chose not to trigger him anymore. She had to prevent him from rebelling. Moreover, their conversation in the wooden tubs was rather strange. Things would easily go astray. She coughed. Fui, thank you for the tablet. I am feeling much better now. There is no need to perform the triumphant recovery treatment anymore. I would suggest that you leave the room. She felt that she should get dressed. Obviously, she wanted to change the topic. Di Fui thought about it and knew that it was not the right time to argue with her. He studied her expressions and placed his fingers on her wrist to read her pulse. A few moments later, he had to be honest with her. The tablet can only stop the condition of your organs from worsening. We still need to use spiritual power to fix your wounds. You should try to utilize your spiritual power. Gu Shizhou tried to use her spiritual power, only to realize that her veins were still blocked. The pain was overwhelming. Since you are so experienced in the field of medicine, I think you can conquer the world even without Master Fengxing's help. Thank you for the compliment, Di Fui answered with a smile. Are you more comfortable with me now? Shall we begin? Gu Shizhou closed her eyes in approval. Yes, please. She raised her palms, giving him a sign that she trusted him. Dumbstruck, Di Fui smiled. He raised his palms to make a connection with her. You have to try to have faith in me. It will be good for your recovery. I believe in you. Gu Shizhou did not hesitate this time. The best result could only be achieved when both the healer and patient trusted each other. At the beginning of the treatment, Gu Shizhou was a little bit uneasy. She was a little bit cautious when she was working with his spiritual power. She was holding back in case he made a mistake so that she could have time to correct the errors. However, when they completed a quarter of the treatment, she was utterly relieved. Di Fui was entirely on point. His movements were more flawless than Gu Zijia's. He was indeed a crazily smart child. Gu Shizhou silently sighed in her heart. Finally, she could let go of all her worries and fully cooperate with him. There were many bubbles in the tubs where two of them sat in, and the potion was spinning around them. Meanwhile, the medicine slowly seeped into her blood through her skin. Her damaged organs were slowly starting to reform again. It was already in the afternoon, and Long Sai was standing in the courtyard. He had almost become a fossil waiting for the two of them to emerge from his residence. He knew that the healing process would take at least 8 hours. Anything could happen in these 8 hours. If Di Fui missed a step or made a mistake, he would go in and rescue Gu Shizhou, hence, he waited here. He used to think that Gu Zijia would absolutely refuse to let Di Fui heal her due to her generally precautious nature. Long Sai had an agreement with Di Fui earlier that if Gu Shizhou strongly opposed him to carry out the treatment, then Di Fui would need to leave and allow Long Sai to take over. Therefore, Long Sai waited eagerly outside for an hour, but there was no such occurrence. Although the soundproofing in the room was good, Long Sai was a highly skilled man. If he really paid attention, he could even hear a silent yawn from the inside. Gu Shizhou was indeed quite uneasy with Di Fui, but she did not reject him. After talking for a while, she had let Di Fui heal her. This made Long Sai feel a little bit disappointed. He felt as if she had somehow treated the son of the Divine Lord and Great Devil differently. He looked down at his hand and sighed softly. He was also a genius and a hard-working individual. However, he was still not able to catch up with a 6-year-old child. There was indeed a big gap. His servant served him a cup of tea. Long Sai picked up the cup and looked at her. The servant was the maid who helped Gu Shijiu change. After she was thrown out, although it was a bit embarrassing, she did not leave. She used various reasons to come back. At that moment, the servant's gaze fell on the door of the room. "Do you like that man?" Long Sai asked unexpectedly. The servant was stunned. She immediately kneeled, and her face was flushed. "No. No. No need to lie in front of me. You can tell me the truth. You have come and gone 6 times now. Do you think I can't see what's in your mind?" The servant was stunned for a moment and finally admitted, "The young man is really attractive. I know that I am wrong." She was starstruck by the man. Long Sai's gloomy eyes fell on her. He slowly said, "What if I tell you that he is just a 6-year-old boy?" The servant was stunned. Her mouth was ajar, but she could not say anything. Long Sai calmly looked at her. "So, would you still like him? Would you be willing to be his servant? Or even marry him?" The servant snorted. No. She was really fascinated by the young man, but she did not intend to be with a kid. She was an ordinary girl, not a pedophile. Nonetheless, this young man seemed to be an adult. How could he just be 6 years old? Long Sai faintly said, "Maybe he deliberately transformed to look like an adult. I am not sure of his true appearance. Perhaps, he is just too eager to grow up." Long Sai stared at her for a while before he smirked. "So, what is your plan of action? Are you going to give up?" The servant said, "General, you must be kidding. Regardless of whether this young man is an adult or a child, I have no other thoughts about him." Long Sai seemed to be somewhat satisfied. "It is good to know." He then waved his hand to dismiss her. "Go back now. Do not tell anyone about today's matter. If you divulge a sentence, I will definitely punish you." The servant promised, turned, and left. She did not come back again. Long Sai's mood was a lot better. He sat down at a stone table and waited patiently. Inside the room, Di Fui finally completed the healing process. He looked at Gu Zijia's pretty face and asked, "How do you feel?" Gu Shijiu opened her eyes and took a breath. "A lot better." Her pretty face was terribly pale before, but now there was a faint blush on her cheek. With her watery eyes, she looked back at him. "Nian. Fui, thank you." She was too weak to sit in the barrel before, but now she finally had some strength and could slowly use her spiritual power. Di Fui smiled. "You don't have to be so polite with me, I wouldn't have saved you without a request." Gu Shijiu was stunned. "What is it that you want? Just say it out." As long as it was within her ability, she would fulfill any request from him. Di Fui looked at her and spoke, "Are you planning to talk to me while you are still in the water? Then perhaps you should leave first, we will talk later." She had been soaked in this potion for the whole day. She felt like she was going to wrinkle. This treatment took a full 6 hours, and her legs were numb under the water. At this point, she desperately wanted to sleep. Since she was quite tired as a patient, she could imagine how exhausted Di Fui was as the healer. Gu Shijiu looked at his slightly pale face and was not at ease. "Are you too tired? You can ask General Long to send a few servants to come and carry you out." "No. I don't want outsiders to see me like this." After the Di Fui finished talking, he controlled the wooden barrel and moved out of the quiet room. The door closed again, leaving Gu Shijiu alone. A moment later, a servant took another bucket of clean water into the room and so that Gu Shijiu could take a bath. Gu Shijiu was still a bit weak, she was sweating profusely despite taking a shower. She then sat on the bed and waited for Di Fui to come in and raise his demand with her. Unexpectedly, Long Sai came in instead. He carefully observed her and was relieved. "Shijiu, your appearance looks a lot better now." He raised his hand and checked her pulse. His tone was more relaxed now. Your pulse is also a lot stronger. Gu Shijiu had already checked her own pulse just now, so she naturally knew her condition. Nevertheless, she smiled in acknowledgement of his care. Chapter 2012, he came to settle the account. I have received a second chance at life. Gu Shijiu said to Long Sai to lighten the mood. She then looked at Long Sai's slightly reddened eyes and remarked, Did you not sleep at all? It was already the next evening since Gu Shijiu came to Long Sai's residence. Long Sai smiled and did not answer her question. Instead, he asked, Shijiu, are you hungry? I have prepared porridge that is easy to digest. Do you want to swallow a few mouthfuls? Gu Shijiu shook her head. Although she had not been eating for nearly a day, she did not have the appetite yet. She only felt tired now and wanted to take a rest. Where is he? Gu Shijiu asked bluntly. Long Sai was slightly stunned by her question. He said, he went out to get the cure for you. If you want to recover completely, you must have the cure from spiritual master Shanjing. Gu Shijiu was startled. She quickly said, why is it so urgent? He just utilized a lot of spiritual power. What he needs is rest. Moreover, it is quite a distance from here to Fengyun Valley. Long Sai was visibly upset. This is what he promised before, and you can't delay your healing. You can only recover as soon as you get the cure. Gu Shijiu frowned. Long Sai's residence was 1,000 miles away from the Fengyun Valley. Di Fui had to travel back and forth in such an exhausted state. This kid was really sincere. If she did not agree with his demand, he would be wasting his effort. Furthermore, this trip to ask for the cure would not be easy. After all, she almost shattered the most important body part of spiritual master Shanjing. Suddenly, Gu Shijiu thought of something, and asked, how long ago did he leave? I can actually give him some bargain chips. She took out a peach-colored snake from her storage space and extracted some snake poison out. She then put it in a small bottle and handed it to Long Sai. Instructor Long, I need to trouble you to send someone to pass him this bottle. Long Sai was confused. What is this? Gu Shijiu waved her hand to dismiss his question. I will explain it to you later. He will understand once he sees it. Long Sai took the bottle of snake poison and left. Spiritual Master Shanjing was still in the Fengyun Valley. Normally, he would leave early. However, this time, he could not. His balls were so badly hurt that he could hardly walk. Hence, he had to stay back to treat his wounds. Fortunately, Master Fengxing was a credible doctor, and he was very good at treating this sort of injury. Nonetheless, it was still a bit awkward. This body part of the body was private, and it was improper to be shown to an outsider. Therefore, he only consumed medication orally. Sadly, that slowed down his recovery. Suffering this type of pain for a prolonged period gave him many opportunities to curse Gu Shijiu. He felt guilty for having killed her because of that matter. At the same time, Shen Yanma wanted to break up with his 10 masters because of this girl. If he found her corpse, he was not sure what Shen Yanma would do to him. All of a sudden, a few disciples flew in and reported, Master, Shen Yanma has returned. Spiritual Master Shanjing's face turned pale and serious. What should he do now? The girl must have died, and he is here to settle the account. The return of Shen Yanma caused a sensation in the Fengyun Valley. The 4 masters who remained, along with their disciples, were all alarmed. Therefore, when Di Fui entered, he was immediately surrounded. Spiritual Master Shanjing looked at him like a traitor. Yanma, why are you back? Chapter 2013, what kind of trade do you want to talk about? In his heart, Master Fengxing hoped that Shen Yanma was here to ask for forgiveness. Di Fui wore a mask on his face so they could not tell his facial expression clearly. However, his light pink lips slightly smirked. Master Fengxing, I am not looking for you. Master Fengxing was speechless. Apparently, Di Fui did not recognize him as his teacher. Furiously, Master Fengxing questioned, why are you here then? Di Fui was very straightforward. I want to make a trade. Master Fengxing grew even angrier. What kind of trade? Do you want to trade masters? Nianma, nobody in the world would bargain with their master for a trade. Others from the crowd had also voiced their opinions. Di Fui was rather calm and cold. It is only spiritual master Yu Hang who has actually taught me any skills among all of you. The crowd remained silent. He was right. Spiritual master Yu Hang was proud, but just when he was about to talk, he was interrupted by Di Fui. I have learned 4 skills from spiritual master Yu Hang, and I have completely improved the 4 skills by correcting the loopholes to make it even better. Spiritual master Yu Hang, am I right? Spiritual master Yu Hang could not deny it. After Shen Nianma improved the 4 skills, his power was doubled. Moreover, he did not hide it but taught the 4 improved methods to the other disciples, so that his younger apprentice brothers and sisters could practice better. The original techniques needed to take a year to master. After his added improvements, they could be learned in 2 months. Nianma, you have merits to the apprenticeship. Spiritual master Yu Hang sighed in agreement. Is my merit worth you teaching me the 4 skills? Spiritual master Yu Hang was stunned and said, of course. In fact, he still earned to have Shen Nianma as his disciple, because it made his name even more famous. Therefore, I don't owe you anything. I have already stated openly that I won't join your apprenticeship anymore. Why can't I discuss a trade deal? Everyone was stunned with Di Fui's reply. What trade do you want to talk about? Spiritual master Yu Hang could not help but ask. Di Fui stretched out of his palm, and a small bottle shone under the sunlight. This is the poison from the peach snake. I want to trade it for the cure for the golden splitting spell from spiritual master Shanjing. Everyone remained silent. Spiritual master Shanjing blurted, is the evil girl still alive? When he mentioned the evil girl, his balls suddenly hurt. Di Fui's gaze fell on his face. She is the person I value the most, please respect her. Spiritual master Shanjing was speechless. This evil girl used an immoral attack. Di Fui frowned. Apparently, Gu Shijiu did not tell him about the fact she kicked spiritual master Shanjing's balls. Thus he was puzzled by this statement. He looked at spiritual master Shanjing once again to try to understand. Di Fui was a skilled medical practitioner. Therefore, he noticed that the standing posture of spiritual master Shanjing was not right. It seemed like he got kicked in an important part of his body. Di Fui silently sighed in his heart. No wonder Gu Shijiu did not put much hope in asking for the cure. Was she so fierce? How did she even kick this part? Di Fui paused for a while. He then threw a bottle over to spiritual master Shanjing. Soak in the water with this medicine. It can heal your injury in 3 days. Spiritual master Shanjing's face was red, but he still held the bottle in his hand. He knew that most of the medicines from Di Fui were secret medicines from the Divine Lord, and they were all very effective. Chapter 2014, Eldest Brother Apprentice did not want her anymore. In the end, spiritual master Shanjing gave the golden splitting spell cure to Di Fui. The main reason was that the elixir given by Di Fui was beneficial. When he soaked in it, the pain was lightened significantly. Secondly, Qing Luo never really managed to recover from the snake's poison. Although her life was saved, her whole body still felt uncomfortable. Every day, she would cry and scream. It actually disturbed all the people in the valley. Even spiritual master Shanjing could not sleep well due to her screams. However, there was nothing that he could do to fix the problem. Since Di Fui came to make a deal that involved the peach snake venom, they finally treat Qing Luo properly, and spiritual master Shanjing could have some peace and rest. When Di Fui got the cure, he was about to leave. However, spiritual master Yu Hang could not help but stop him and ask, you grew up together with Qing Luo, and she is your young sister apprentice. She has always admired and respected you, and you used to be very good to her. If spiritual master Shanjing did not make the trade with you, would you really see your younger sister apprentice suffer to death? Di Fui stopped, and his eyes fell on spiritual master Yu Hang. He faintly said, the day when Qing Luo was poisoned, her life was in danger. The person who saved her in time was the evil girl you have been cursing. Qing Luo has always been arrogant to her, but the evil girl was not calculative. To find the peach snake, she risked her life. She saved Qing Luo and Si Qing, and the grace of saving lives is worth every repayment. However, what had Qing Luo done? Not only did she not repay her, but she also maliciously hurt and humiliated the individual who saved her life. I despise such characters. I don't have such a sister. I was really good to her before, but now I know that I am blind. This kind of sister is not worth saving. If spiritual master Shanjing did not make a trade with me, I would rather break this cure than give it to Qing Luo because she is not worth it. It was rare for Di Fui to say so many words. Spiritual master Yu Hang was startled and could only see Di Fui stride away. Obviously, Di Fui was criticizing Qing Luo, but somehow spiritual master Yu Hang felt embarrassed. He stood there in contemplation when suddenly, he heard some movements behind him. He turned his head and saw Qing Luo's pale face. Her problem had been solved, and the suffering pain that she had to endure for the past few days had disappeared. Nonetheless, as the cure came at a very late time, her skills were basically abolished. She naturally heard that it was her eldest brother apprentice that brought her the cure. Therefore, once her poison was cured, she disregarded her physical weakness and ran to see him, but only heard the last words Di Fui uttered about her. She was badly attacked and stood there with a pale face, her knees were weak as she struggled to stand properly. It turned out that her eldest brother apprentice was here to make a trade that would benefit the evil woman. It turned out that her eldest brother apprentice would rather smash the vial of medicine than give it to her. Her eldest brother apprentice did not want her anymore. Naturally, spiritual master Yu Hang saw Qing Luo's mouth twitch a few times as she cried. She was very sad. Spiritual master Yu Hang had nowhere to vent his anger, so he decided to take it out on her. Do you still dare to cry? If you didn't gossip about her in the first place, we would not have suffered all these losses. Spiritual master Yu Hang usually pampered Qing Luo a lot. After all, he only had a few female disciples. Qing Luo was very smart and knew how to make spiritual master Yu Hang happy, so he always favored her a lot. But the recent behavior of this female disciple did make him rather disgusted. This was the first time he had been so direct and blunt to Qing Luo, and out of shock, she held back her tears. Chapter 2015. Qing Luo mumbled, "Master, it's not that I don't know how to be grateful, the evil girl is really suspicious. I don't know how old she is, but she always wants to steal eldest brother apprentice. Master, where did this evil woman come from? I can see that her martial arts skills are crazily good. Eldest brother apprentice has been fascinated by her, and I am afraid that she will do something unfavorable to him in the future." Shut up. No matter what you think, she has saved your life. Qing Luo, you have really disappointed me. Starting from today, you will need to go back to Mount Wujie and do your reflection in Cliff Sigua. Come back after 10 years. Qing Luo's face turned pale. She kneeled and begged, "Master, go away. If you say one more word, you will be punished for 20 years. Qing Luo left silently in disappointment. Spiritual master Yu Hang rubbed his eyebrows in frustration. For the sake of protecting Shen Nianma, he had done some investigation into Gu Shijiu, but the information was minimal. He only knew that she was from the lower bound and did not like to make friends with anyone in the upper bound. People have known about her for hundreds of years. Spiritual master Yu Hang was still skeptical about the fact that she came from the lower bound because her skills were crazily good. He also knew a lot of the strongest people from the lower bound who ascended to the upper bound. These people were basically at the primary level of the mighty immortals after they ascended. Only a few could reach the second level of the mighty immortals, which was considered to be very rare. However, the martial arts Gu Shijiu possessed could only be described as unfathomable. They had 10 masters encircle her, but she could still escape and even hurt a few of them. Based on his estimations, she would have reached level 9 of a mighty immortal. It was just a matter of time to reach the level of great deity. How could the lower bound have such a master? Why had she not ascended? Had she been practicing in the lower bound that had very limited spiritual power? Even if someone practiced in the most potent places in the upper bound, it would take thousands of years to reach her level. The only possibility was that she was someone with the bloodline of a god. However, it seemed a very unlikely possibility. The devil master, Ning Shuima, was said to have practiced for thousands of years before she cultivated to the level of a great deity. Therefore, Gu Shijil must be at least a few thousand years old, or possibly even 10,000 years old. This person was so mysterious, therefore, he was afraid that the intentions behind her were not that simple. She had been wandering around Shinyanma for some time now. What was her purpose in the end? If she was the remaining member of the enemy of the Divine Lord, Luo Jiuchen, then her intention to approach Nyenma must be evil. Spiritual Master Yuhang was so conflicted by the matter. When the Divine Lord and his wife left, they said that they would let their kid learn from the 10 masters. In fact, they entrusted the 10 masters to look after their kid. They were afraid that the remainder of Luo Jushin's clan would be out to harm the kid. Due to Shin Nyenma's fascination with the evil girl, things became more difficult for them since he did not want to recognize them as his master. If anything happened to Shin Nyenma in the future, how could they explain it to his parents? Spiritual Master Yuhang simply could not let it go. He gathered all the other masters who were still in the valley to discuss the matter and put his concerns into consideration. The others seemed to nod rather frequently at his remarks. Spiritual Master Shanjing was the only one who was still angry. We have been worrying about him, but he is fascinated by the evil girl and does not appreciate our help. He only thinks of protecting that evil girl. Master Fengxing sighed. Nyenma is only a 6-year-old child. He has very little social experience. That woman is an experienced master with a rich history. Moreover, she has an enchanting appearance. Chapter 2016, Nyenma is attracted to her. It is okay for him not to recognize us as his master, but he is the son of the Divine Lord, and the Divine Lord has great grace with us. We can't watch him go astray, or else how can we explain the situation to the Divine Lord when he returns? There was no objection after this sentence was said. Spiritual Master Shanjing clapped his hands. If I knew this earlier, we should not have given him the cure to save the evil girl. My golden splitting spell had hit the evil girl. Without the cure, she would definitely die. How good is it if we settled her this way? Spiritual Master Yuhang shook his head. With Nienmo's temperament, there is nothing he can't get. Since he came for the cure, even if we don't trade it with him, he will get it by other means. We could strain our relationship with him as well if we are not careful. Master Fengxing sighed. This woman is awful. When the Divine Lord and Devil Master were on the continent, she never disturbed little Nyenma. In fact, she disappeared right after giving him his birthday present. But now that the couple is not around, she has started making her advances. If only they could return now. Perhaps all our troubles will be resolved. These masters talked for a long time here. There were a lot of complaints at first, but then they finally started to discuss the next steps. Everyone agreed that it's a rebellious period for Shin Nyenma. The more they restrict him, the more he would rebel. Therefore, instead of limiting him, it would be better to let him have his freedom. Everyone would secretly pay attention to the evil woman's movements. If the woman really had some evil intention, she would eventually be exposed. Once they catch her doing something wrong, the kid will wake up. The most important thing to remember was that Shin Nyenma was the son of the Divine Lord. He would naturally mature early and start to be interested in the opposite sex. In the past, they only paid attention to his practice and never considered the emotional aspects of his development. Since he was already mature, they would try to place a few beautiful women around him. When there were more girls around him, he might shift his attention and no longer be interested in that old woman. Soon after, everyone started to discuss what kind of ladies to put around Shin Nyenma. The sun was just right, and the spring breeze was warm enough. Gu Shijio, who was called an evil old lady, was now sitting in a rocking chair and enjoying the heat. The mussel, which had its shell open, was sleeping beside her with saliva all over its mouth while Lu Wu was catching mosquitoes in the garden. The mosquitoes here were of the highest standards. They were fast and naturally more challenging to catch. They could even do camouflage themselves in the trees or flowers where they landed. Lu Wu spent time catching them out of boredom. Nonetheless, it also helped it improve its flexibility. It was not like the mussel, which was lazy and only slept and ate. The mussel had gained a few pounds after it came to this continent. Its shell would soon become a dwelling. Lu Wu looked at Gu Shijiu. She was now out of danger, but apparently, she still did not have much strength. She had been quite lazy and ate significantly less than before. Lu Wu initially thought that the reason why its owner ate less was because Long Sai was stingy. But clearly, it was mistaken. These meals in the upper bound were very delicious. Most of them were medicated diets, which could enhance the spiritual power of its consumer. After Lu Wu and the mussel came to this continent, they had eaten a lot of food. They were satisfied with the taste, and at the same time, it had helped to enhance their spiritual power. Lu Wu could easily tell dozens of tasty and beneficial food apart now. Meanwhile, the mussel could probably distinguish between more than 100 dishes. Chapter 2017. Long Sai was a general of the upper bound, and the Emperor Immortal highly valued him. He was very wealthy due to his position, therefore, his kitchen was supposed to be full of all kinds of nutritious food. Since Lu Wu's owner was injured, she should be consuming a lot more supplements and nutritious food. Long Sai, as the friend and host of its master, should serve her at least a dozen nice and tasty meals. However, what was served every day were plain rice, veggies, and radish. There was no taste and no nutrition in these dishes. How could its owner swallow them down? Both the mussel and Lu Wu were somewhat disappointed for their master. However, if they complained to their master, even if their master did not speak out, she would definitely feel sad. That was not good for her recovery. Therefore, Mussel and Lu Wu had been holding back their emotions. Their owner was frail for the past few days. She often fell asleep under the sun while trying to restore her energy. Long Sai came back to see her like this and wanted to take her back to the house. However, the mussel did not allow him to do so. It felt that Long Sai was very suspicious and had the intention to starve its master until she fainted so that he could take advantage of its beautiful master. The mussel would drag Gu Shijiu into its shell and then send her to the bed in the house. It would not let Long Sai get close to its master. Both the mussel and Lu Wu were fierce. Long Sai always felt that they were hostile toward him. They always treated him like a thief. He naturally did not bother them. After all, these were just the favorite pets Gu Shijiu had, and she usually pampered them a lot. Therefore, he could only get close to Gu Shijiu when she was awake. He would often chat with her and also check on her injuries. She did improve, but the speed of recovery was very slow. She could barely get dressed on her own, and walking a small round in the yard made her sweat profusely. 3 days had passed, and Gu Shijiu could now carry herself to the garden. She spent more time awake than resting, and no longer fell asleep halfway when she talked. It was now near to noon, so the servant sent another meal and placed it on the stone table in front of Gu Shijiu. The mussel was awake after it smelled the rice. It stretched its neck to the stone table and felt angry again. The dishes were green vegetables and radish with white rice again. This overlord Long seemed to be feeding a rabbit. Gu Shijiu woke up and slowly ate the meal. She then strolled a small circle along the bluestone path in the garden. The mussel and Lu Wu both watched her carefully. When they saw that she did not sweat after her usual lap, they felt somewhat relieved. Gu Shijiu continued to lie on the rocking chair and slept again after her usual routine stroll. Sleeping could speed up her recovery and help her maintain her strength. The mussel and Lu Wu looked at each other and exchanged their thoughts without speaking. They decided to be self-reliant and worked hard to solve the meal problem for their master. The mussel went to hunting while Lu Wu waited here to look after her. Although the mussel was lazy, it was determined to be diligent this time to bring back excellent food for its owner, therefore, it acted quickly and ran. It used to see a wild deer at Yaori Hill in the 6th level of heaven. It wanted to hunt one for its owner to help strengthen her body. Recently, the Saha world was not in a peaceful state. Although the case of the missing children had been solved, the culprit was never found. The Emperor Immortal had sent a lot of soldiers and animals to go out and find the accused. However, he had not received any news. There were also disappearances in other places, but this time it was fairy beasts that had disappeared. A number of fairy beasts were inexplicably missing. It was essential to know that the beasts in this Saha world were very important. They were creatures that helped in battle and chauffeured the people. Occasionally they would be majestic pets as well, which served as a statement of status to their owner. The sudden disappearance of the beasts caused heartbreak for their owners. Every day, they would cry in the Golden Temple and beg the Emperor Immortal to send people to look for their pets. Over the past 2 days, the Emperor Immortal had discussed with the officers about the details. Long Sai was the right arm of the Emperor, so naturally, he could not be absent. He could not even take leave at this moment. He often spent his entire day in the Hall of Supreme Harmony. Today was the first time that his meetings ended earlier. The red sun on the horizon was still visible. When he returned to his house, he did not even change his clothes but went straight to look for Gu Shijiu. His servant told him that she was still in the garden, so he rushed there. He saw her lying on the rocking chair and went closer. It was rare that she was still awake, and she was bored while playing with the willow branches. The evening wind blew her hair, and her beauty was suffocating. Long Sai leaned on a big stone and looked at her for a moment, then he walked over. Shijiu, you look much better today. He walked forward to check her pulse, as per his regular routine. Her pulse was much better than before. His eyes fell on her hands that were knitting something. She was knitting a swan, and it looked very lively. A sudden familiarity had struck him. A sentence then appeared in his mind. How can a sparrow know the passion of a swan? Instructor Long, you are a swan, you will be successful in the future. I want to give you this as a gift. His eyes slightly widened. He had a feeling that this occurred in his past life with her. Unfortunately, she had never mentioned anything related to the past to him. She never even mentioned anything about the lower bound to Long Sai. Whenever he asked, she always smiled and told him that as he was now living a new life, he should start every new and not hold on to the past. If Gu Shijiu did not want to say something, she would never tell no matter how much he asked. Therefore, Long Sai did not pester her. However, he knew that there must have been something between them. He also knew that she was the lord in lower bound, and he was her subordinate. Shijiu, can I have this? He asked her. Gu Shijiu was a generous person, so she handed it to him. Well, you are like a swan, and it is your time to make great achievements. It is a good sign to give you this gift. Long Sai looked at the knitted swan for a moment, then kept it carefully. He chatted with her again and talked about the recent disappearance of fairy beasts. He was afraid that she was tired, so he did not tell in too much detail. Gu Shijiu did not show any concern about the fair beasts. Instead, she asked, is there any news about Nianma? Long Sai was slightly bitter. After Di Fui left, Gu Shijiu asked about him almost every day. Apparently, she was worried about that kid. Long Sai sighed. Shijiu, you can rest assured. Those people are his masters, and they will not be unfavorable to him in any way. He will not be in danger. Besides, the Fengyun Valley is far away from here. It will take at least 5 to 6 days for him to go back and forth, excluding the time spent on getting the cure. It's only been about 3 days, he can't come back so quickly. Long Sai preferred not to talk about that child. He looked at Gu Shijiu and spoke, Shijiu, I think you can eat some meat today. Gu Shijiu sighed with relief. I want to eat fish. These days, she had been eating the greens and radishes every day. She was rather sick of it now. However, her injury required her to eat light and as little as possible, so she had been eating porridge every day. Long Sai was excited. All right, I am going fishing. He was very good at fishing, and soon, he fished a few sea bases out of the pond. Gu Shizhou watched Long Sai fishing to kill her boredom. Lush trees shaded the lake, and the air was full of grass and wooden scents. Long Sai occasionally looked at her while he caught fishes for her meal. She seemed to be playing with stones all the while. Gu Shizhou threw a dozen stones in her hand into the pond. The pebbles were colorful and formed numerous bright arcs in her hands under the sunlight. It was a lovely scene to see. Long Sai's heart moved. He seemed to have experienced the same situation before. He blurted out, "Shizhou, have we ever been like this?" The remaining stones in Gu Zijia's hands fell. She smiled and said, "Sometimes, you may feel a sense of familiarity with certain situations. In fact, it is just an illusion." She looked up into his bucket and said, "Wow, you have caught 3 fishes. I can go and cook them now. You don't have to fish anymore, it will be a waste." Was it just an illusion? Long Sai was disappointed by the answer he received. He then went to prepare the fishes for cooking. The two were on the edge of the lake. Gu Shizhou squatted there, watching him work. His kind gesture touched her. After all, she did get along with Long Sai like this in the modern world. Long Sai did remember it correctly. What about herself? When she was together with Shin Nianma, she often had the feeling of déjà vu, especially when they were in the wooden tubs. She had a similar strong feeling. Had she experienced the same thing with Shin Nianma before? Was Shin Nianma the reincarnation of Huang Tu? She was shocked by her thoughts and simultaneously dropped the pebbles in her hand. They swayed in circles while sinking, just like her heart. Could it be possible? Huang Tu had passed away for hundreds of years, while Shin Nianma was still so young. Furthermore, according to the mysterious voice in her brain, Shin Nianma was the reincarnation of the Master of the Heavenly Law. Was it impossible for Huang Tu to be the reincarnation of the Master of Heavenly Law as well? As far as she was aware, Huang Tu was once the Lord of the Lower Bound, and his demise was also the fate of his life. If he was the Master of Heavenly Law, he could easily change his fate, right? If he did not want to die, with the ability of the Master of Heavenly Law, it should easily be reversed. In the illusions, she could see that he loved her very much. If he loved her so deeply, how could he bear to leave her alone? Therefore, Huang Tu should not be the Master of Heavenly Law. Gu Shizhou was startled for a moment as Long Sai stared at her and handed her a fish. "Come and deal with this fish. You are quite good at grilling fish, why don't you try to do one?" Gu Shizhou took the fish and handled it. Her technique was excellent and straightforward. It seemed like she always did it in the past. Long Sai looked at her, and his heart moved again. He dreamed of this before. He dreamed that she cooked him a grilled fish, and the technique was exactly the same. What was the relationship between them before he ascended? Long Sai generally was distant from other people. However, he could not let her go. Every time he thought about her, his heart was flustered. The way she treated him was not like a superior to speaking to her subordinates but more like friends. He took a deep breath and seemed to make a decision. He then told her jokes until she laughed happily. Her smile was adorable. Her eyebrows were perfectly curved. As soon as he lifted his hand, a small fish scale flew to her forehead. She seemed to be a bit startled and did not pay attention to it. Long Sai stepped forward, and his fingers suddenly wiped the scale off her forehead. Gu Shizhou involuntarily moved her head away, and his fingertips had touched her eyebrows. Everything happened very promptly, and Gu Zijia was not aware of the numbness of her feet. Since her body was still weak, she almost fell backward. Long Sai subconsciously stretched his sleeves and caught her in his embrace. A warm and soft body was in his arms, and Long Sai's heart suddenly swayed. On the other hand, Gu Shizhou was still stunned. She asked, "What's wrong?" Long Sai stuttered, You have a fish scale on your forehead. I wanted to wipe it off for you." Gu Shizhou was speechless. "Do you have fish scales on your hand too? Wouldn't that just make it worse?" When she about to support herself up again, there was a light sound heard from not far away. It seemed like someone had stepped on a few branches with brute force. Gu Shijiu and Long Sai turned their heads and saw a person standing at the big tree in the distance. He was in a purple robe and looked like a purple orchid tree from afar. This person wore a butterfly mask on his face, and it shone under the sunlight. It was Di Fui. He actually came back so soon. Beside him was a beast with white wings. It looked like a hybrid between a horse and a lion. It had the mane of a white lion and a tail with a flame-shaped tip at the end. There was a pair of horns on its head, and it had a pair of deep blue eyes looking down as if it could see through everything. Di Fui stared at the two people who were still holding each other. "What are both of you doing?" His aura was powerful. Long Sai was nervous and felt inexplicably guilty. He put Gu Shijiu down and explained. "Shijiu could eat meat today, so I was fishing and got her to grill the fish." After explaining himself, he felt a bit strange. Why would he have to explain himself to this boy? Di Fui took a leap and landed near to the two. He looked at the pot, seasoning, and the bonfire on the ground, and then looked at Gu Shijiu. "Seems like you are recovering well. You even have the energy to have a wild party over here." He looked at her as if he was smiling, but there was no smile in his eyes. Apparently, the scene in front of him made him very uncomfortable. When she saw him, she was inexplicably relieved and happy in her heart. However, when she saw his current expression, why would she have the feeling that he was a husband who caught his derailed wife red-handed? Gu Shijiu remembered the words he said to her when he was healing her. It seemed like really treated her as his fiancée. She frowned slightly and wanted to say something, but she noticed that Di Fui looked very pale. He was supposed to only come back after 5 or 6 days, but he returned in about half the time. Apparently, he pushed his speed to the extreme, and he did not rest at all. She was very touched, so she did not care much about his strange tone. She stood up and waved at him. "Fui, come down. Do you want to eat fish?" Di Fui's expression changed a little, he looked less serious. He jumped down and said, "Yes, I am starving." Not sure if it was intentional or not, but he sat right in between Gu Shijiu and Long Sai, which made Long Sai have to move back a little. Long Sai frowned, but before he could say anything, Di Fui's gaze fell on him. "General Long, since you are so interested in cooking today, please do something for me." Although Long Sai was unhappy with the request, he could not refuse it. He faintly replied, "Your Highness has been eagerly looking for the cure for Shijiu. Naturally, I need to repay you with something." He picked up the fishing rod and went fishing again. Since they had one more person to feed, 3 fishes were obviously not enough. Di Fui laughed. "General Long is really generous." He waved at the snow-white mythological beast which was standing there. "Bai Zai, come over, you have been good today. Come down and eat together with me." Therefore, the snow-white mythological beast leaped over, turned into a human form, and sat opposite Long Sai. "Thank you, General Long. I like to eat grilled fish. Can you grill more for me?" Bai Zai's human form was a handsome general in white robes. It looked heroic and elegant. However, there was also a strong aura from him that could not be ignored. Long Sai naturally knew that about the mythological beast, Bai Zai. It was the head of the 8 ancient mythological beasts from ancient time. Its status was even higher than the Emperor Immortal. Ordinary celestial beings would need to worship it when they saw it. Even Long Sai needed to pay respect to it. On the current continent, the only person who would dare to take Bai Zai as its ride was the son of the Divine Lord, Shin Nianma. When the divine couple left the continent, they left the 8 mythological beasts to their son. The beasts usually stayed in the palace of the Divine Lord and would only be called out by Di Fui when necessary. This time, to get the medicine back to Gu Shijiu, he actually summoned Bai Zai. Nonetheless, Nianma was still exhausted. Although he did not show it, his slightly pale lips still exposed his exhaustion. He was sitting next to Gu Shijiu and was quite close. She could smell a faint aroma from his body. This fragrance made her heart float, and she felt inexplicable clingy to him. Why is your face so pale? Are you feeling uncomfortable? When her soft fingers rested on his wrist, the anger in Di Fui's heart suddenly disappeared. He closed his eyes slightly and asked, "What do you think?" In the past 3 days, he rode 10,000 miles on Baizé and did not sleep. Even the mighty Baizé was tired, so Shen Nianma was naturally exhausted too. Before seeking out the cure for her, he had already spent 3 days looking for her and also utilized his spiritual power to cure her. It had been nearly 7 days that he had not slept. Shen Nianma took off his mask and left it aside. Gu Shijiu looked at his slightly dark eye bags and finally understood. Don't tell me that you have not slept in these 3 days. Di Fui smiled and only said a few words. No mood to sleep, he was afraid that he would come back late, and she would have died due to her injuries. He did not know why he was especially scared that she disappeared. Although he knew clearly that her injury had been under control, he was still nervous and scared that she would be gone. Although Gu Shijiu was grateful, she also felt bad. This kid was too kind to her. He really tried hard just to save her. She thought about it and took a small bottle from her storage space. She put it in his hand. Come, take this. Di Fui accepted the small bottle in his hand. He opened the bottle cap and saw that 2 purple glowing pills rolled out. He looked inside the bottle and saw that there was still a lot of it inside. There were about 40 or 50 pills there. She once gave him this medicine, but he did not know what it was at that time. He took it away and studied it for a while. He found that it was an excellent supplement for spiritual power. It was difficult to find the herbs which were used to make the potent medicine, hence, he could not identify what ingredients were added due to his inexperience. Strangely, he trusted that the pill would be effective as he felt a sense of familiarity as he sniffed it. He realized that his spiritual power had been enhanced drastically after he consumed the pill. To his surprise, the energy of the pill perfectly matched his original energy as if it was meant for him. This made him think that the pill was specially customized for him by Gu Shijiu. Perhaps, she really made the pill just for him. After all, her mission was to assist him in upgrading his spiritual power. The medicine must be precious, one worth 1,000 favors, and yet she gave him an entire bottle. Do you have many bottles of this? Di Fui asked as he shook the little bottle. Certainly not, that was the only bottle she had. She consumed a few throughout the years and also gave a few to her close friends and those in need. That was all she had now. However, he would not take it if she told him that it was the only bottle she had. Therefore, Gu Shijiu smiled and answered, "Do not worry, you need it more than me." Di Fui weighed the bottle in his palm and chuckled. I guess you need it to complete your mission more efficiently. If that is the case, I do not want it. He tossed it back to her. Gu Shijiu was speechless. He was such a problematic kid. She gave it to him for the sake of her mission and also to enhance his power. It benefited both parties, but he did not understand it. Swiftly, Long Sai nicely grilled a few fishes. He then passed it to Gu Shijiu. Shijiu, I'm sure you're starving, take this first. Surprisingly, a hand stretched over and took the fish before Gu Shijiu reached it. Let me try. Gu Shijiu did not speak a word as she thought that he deserved it since he contributed quite a lot earlier. Di Fui commented after taking a bite, it is slightly salty but overall still acceptable, there is room for improvement, General Long. Long Sai was annoyed. Casually, he replied, it sounds like your highness is an expert in this area. Why don't you grill a fish so that I can try? Di Fui did not respond to Long Sai's challenge but gave the fish to Baizé. Nah, see if you like it. Baizé took the fish over and tried it. It was not a picky eater, hence, it was very pleased with the taste. I think it is quite good. Di Fui smiled. Alright, I think General Long should responsible to grill fish for Baizé, not too many though, I think 20 to 30 would be just nice. Baizé gratefully looked at Long Sai. Thank you so much, General Long. Long Sai immediately clenched his fists. His Highness was trying to provoke him. However, the situation left him without a choice. Di Fui shifted his gaze to Long Sai as he did not respond. General Long, are you reluctant to comply? Long Sai heaved a sigh. It is my honor to grill fish for General Bai, but Shijiao needs to eat more nutritious food as well. Let me make 2 for her first. Do not worry, she should not eat heavy meals and grilled fish is not suitable for her. I think it is better to boil fish soup for her. Di Fui then looked at Bai Zai. Bai Zai, could you make some fish soup? Bai Zai was good at culinary arts, even the Divine Lord complimented his skills. Hence, stewed fish was certainly not a big deal for him. However, he quickly sent a directed audio to Di Fui. Your Highness, you should make the soup yourself if you would like to please her. I can secretly guide you. Di Fui paused for a moment and then replied by Zai via directed audio. I am not good at it. It is too late to learn now. Di Fui was generally a fast learner but was unskilled at cooking. In contrast, his father was an expert in this area, and he always amazed his mother. However, it was a no for him. He had 0 talent in culinary arts according to his father. Therefore, he had never made a meal for himself all these years since he left home. He did not want to expose his weakness. Bai Zai looked at Di Fui with sympathy and said, honestly, General Long makes delicious grilled fish. Divine Lord will probably compliment him if he is here. Your Highness, your father did mention before, you need to take care of a lad's stomach if you want to win her heart. Only then will she never leave you. Di Fui was upset. He silently groaned. Shut up. Go get the fish stewed now. Ah, it was rare to see His Highness get mad from being shy. Bai Zai found it interesting to see that. His Highness was adorable and good-looking when he was young. He was also very energetic to the extent the 8 mythological beasts envied his aura. However, His Highness had a very short childhood. He grew up in 3 years. His Highness learned to be cunning and cruel but usually remained calm. He always surprised people with random decisions that often triggered and pissed people off. However, it was very difficult for others to drive him mad. Although the 8 mythological beasts were happy that they did not need to worry about him being bullied, Bai Zai, on the other hand, thought that His Highness was too calm and mature. He should be behaving like a child. It was really good to see him being mad. Bai Zai felt that he had achieved something great, but he knew that he should not tease him anymore. With a smile, he said, I'll get it prepared now. When he was going to do the preparation, Gu Shijiao came over. General Bai, you must be tired, let me do it. Bai Zai was surprised. Does Miss Gu often cook? Gu Shijiao smiled. I think my standards are acceptable. She had already begun to prepare ingredients as she replied. Long Sai was furious. He immediately put the grilled fishes aside and walked over. Shijiao, you're injured, let me do the chores. Gu Shijiao shook her head. It is fine, I am not tired. Instructor Long, go get busy. Long Sai was helpless, hence, he returned to his spot and continued to grill the fishes while Gu Shijiao took out her unique pot, which she used to make stewed fish. Bai Zai was now certain that she was an expert in cooking. To his surprise, she even brought her own seasonings. The Divine Lord also often brought his own seasoning wherever he went to prepare meals for his wife. He did not expect this lady to have the same habit. A moment later, they could all smell the fragrance that emerged from the pot. It was fresh and nice even before it was ready to eat. Bai Zai took a glimpse at his little master and secretly guessed that her cooking attracted his master. Perhaps, there would be a madam who was good at cooking in the Fuzang Palace in the future. It felt good just thinking about it. Bai Zai shifted his gaze to Gu Shijiao and smiled with satisfaction. This lady was literally a perfect match for His Highness with so many different talents. It was then that he realized why His Highness worked so hard to get her. That was his first time seeing His Highness care about someone so much. Soon, a pot of milky fish soup was ready. Gu Shijiao sniffed her food and exhaled with satisfaction as she had not been smelled good meat for a very long time. She missed it so much. When she opened her eyes, she saw a thin white ceramic bowl with cherry blossom designs delivered to her. The hand that delivered it was beautiful with a golden bracelet glowing in 7 colors on its wrist. As she further shifted her gaze along the purple sleeve, she found Di Fui was looking at her pitifully. Shijiu, I'm hungry. Gu Shijiu had a soft spot for the boy, hence, she scooped some soup and a few fish fillets for him. Here, give it a try. Long Sai quickly voiced up. Your Highness, Shijiu is injured, he cursed in his heart. Do you not feel embarrassed to take her food? Di Fui ignored him and took a sip of the soup. He complimented, it is indeed amazing. Shijiu, you are so good at cooking. Long Sai's efforts were in vain, Di Fui did not even want to respond to him. Gu Shijiu passed a bowl of fish soup to him too. Instructor Long, you should try it too. Alas, Long Sai felt slightly better. Initially, he estimated that the soup in the pot was just enough for 2 bowls. In fact, there was still half a pot of soup that remained even though Gu Shijiu had already scooped out 2 bowls of it. Perhaps, the pot was a magic tool, and she had cooked quite a lot. Hence, Long Sai felt better about taking a bowl of it. However, Di Fui took away the soup when Long Sai was about to take it. Shijiu, I think Instructor Long is too shy to try your cooking. Long Sai was speechless. Even an idiot could see that His Highness was trying to provoke Long Sai. Gu Shijiu frowned and casually said, do not worry, there is plenty, everyone can have some. She then took 4 bowls out and filled them with soup. She passed one to Long Sai and Bai Zai, and another 2 were for herself and Lu Wu, who had just appeared in time. Long Sai glared at Di Fui and continued drinking the soup in his bowl. There were 2 bowls of hot and fragranced soup placed in front of Di Fui. Indeed, he was hungry. He had been rushing around for a few days without having a proper meal. How would he not feel hungry? Surprisingly, he suddenly lost his appetite. Meanwhile, Lu Wu had finished its soup in the blink of an eye. It had been ages since it had fish soup made by its master. It was fantastic. Naturally, it wanted more. Swiftly, it shifted its gaze to Di Fui, since there were 2 bowls in front of him. It drew closer. Your Highness, do you want the soup? Di Fui replied casually, I have lost my appetite. Lu Wu immediately said, do not force yourself if you have no appetite. It is such a waste if no one has it though. Di Fui took a glimpse of it. Do you want it? Lu Wu nodded, definitely. Di Fui pushed one of the bowls to it. Enjoy. Your Highness is so understanding. Lu Wu immediately gulped down the soup. Di Fui took a glimpse at Gu Shijiu and realized that she did not notice his kind gesture as she was talking to Long Sai. He felt frustrated and poured the other bowl of his soup into Lu Wu's bowl. Take it, it's all yours. Lu Wu did not reject it and finished everything. This meant that Di Fui only managed to take a sip of the soup from earlier. Gu Shijiu seemed to catch a glimpse of it. She frowned and asked, Fui, did you not like the soup? Why are you not drinking it? Di Fui twitched his lips. I do not like to share food. He got up abruptly and tossed a bottle to Gu Shijiu. That is the antidote, take it after an hour. Let's go. He ordered Bai Zai. Gu Shijiu was stunned. Bai Zai was very understanding, it knew its young master was not in a good mood. Unfortunately, it would not be able to enjoy the grilled fish. Instantly, it got up and replied, all right. It looked at the 2 of them but was mainly looking at Gu Shijiu. Softly, it said, Miss Gu, my young master has not been eating well over the past 3 days as he was rushing to get the antidote for you. Gu Shijiu felt guilty, she thought Di Fui was behaving like a child and trying to create trouble for Long Sai, hence, she decided to ignore him when he refused to drink the soup. She did not expect him to leave so quickly. However, she regretted her actions after listening to Bai Zai. Before she could say anything, Long Sai added, we did not know that His Highness does not have the habit of sharing food. Let me get the chef to prepare a tableful of food. Is that okay? It's fine. Di Fui added. He leaped onto Baize's back after it had transformed into its original form. Let's go. Baize flew up into the sky and disappeared. Gu Shijiu remained silent as she held the bottle in her hand. His Highness is still young, it is normal for him to throw a tantrum. He is still a kid. Shijiu, do not take it too personally. Gu Shijiu felt frustrated. She knew that she should not blame Long Sai, but she could not help it. He is no longer a kid. He is already a man. Could you stop treating him like a kid, Instructor Long? She was slightly blunt to the extent that Long Sai got shocked. Shijiu, are you angry? What happened? Gu Shijiu was stunned as she also found herself being unreasonable. She sighed and added, I did not take it personally. I am tired. I think you should rest early too. She then returned to the house. Long Sai idled as he watched her walking away. All these years, Gu Shijiu was always cool and calm, and she was always good at solving problems. It was rare to see her express her emotions openly. Why did she lose control? That kid really fell in love with her. He was actually jealous. Gu Shijiu sat at the edge of her bed and continued to look at the bottle she received from Di Fui. She realized that she should have treated him better when he arrived, as he had gone through a lot of trouble to retrieve the cure for her. However, she could not do so as she knew that he had a special feeling for her. She closed her eyes, and many illusions flashed across her mind. The person she loved was Huang Tu, and what she had to do was to resurrect him. He had traded his life for hers, so how could she fall in love with someone else when she finally found a way to resurrect him? Therefore, no matter if Di Fui was a kid or not, she was destined to fail him. Hence, she should not give him hope. As a result, Gu Shijiu decided to ignore him, so that he understands that she was not into him. She could not let this kid get attached to her. Given the circumstances, Gu Shijiu was prepared to put aside her mission until he gets over it. She needed to wait until he could treat her as a regular friend before she could continue helping him develop. Having experienced so much in her lifetime, Gu Shijiu naturally understood everything that was going on. Nonetheless, she still felt guilty about it. Although she had rejected a vast number of admirers, she never felt bad about it before. What was wrong with her this time? Was it because he was a kid? Or perhaps it was because he was the youngest among all her admirers? Gu Shijiu shook her head and decided not to think about it anymore. She quickly sat down and started to meditate after consuming the antidote. The antidote was potent, and she managed to recover speedily. An hour later, she was already almost fully recovered. She lied down after doing some stretches and fell asleep unknowingly. She had a dream. It was very foggy in the dream, and she was walking in the fog alone. Apparently, it was too foggy to the extent she could not find her way out. She paused for a while to try to examine her surroundings and continued taking big steps. She was very familiar with that dream, as she often had similar dreams. She even knew what she would see in the fog. Sure enough, the mist disappeared after a short time, and she could see a man standing far away dressed in a purple robe. Although she could not tell who it was, she guessed that it should be Huang Tu. Unfortunately, she could never see his appearance clearly, she could not even identify his body size. Gu Shijiu did not take a step further and decided to remain at the same spot. She knew that there was no way for her to reach him, as she had tried multiple times before. The more she chased after the man, the further he would go, and he would eventually disappear in the fog. This time, she did not want to waste her effort. Hence, she only observed him quietly. To her surprise, the man in the fog seemed to be getting closer to her, and she could see his appearance. She was shocked. The man looked like Di Fui. Her heart began to race, and finally, she took a step forward. Huang Tu. The man's back was initially facing her, and now he slowly turned around. Gu Shijiu immediately held her breath. Di Fui? That was Di Fui in front of her. He pursed his lips as he looked at her with a pair of charming eyes. Baby. His voice was so magnetic. Gu Shijiu suddenly felt an ache in her heart. You. A complicated emotion crept in, and she could sense a sour feeling rush up to her throat as if a duck egg was stuck in there. Helplessly, she felt like crying. Soon enough, she was embraced in his arms. He hugged her tightly as if he was going to stuff her into his ribs. She was suffocating and slowly lost her focus. She could no longer tell if it was a dream or reality. She hugged him tightly as if he was the one she had been looking for all these years. She then raised her chin and looked at him. You finally returned. She felt so helpless and began to sob. He sighed softly and then kissed her gently. His kiss was intense and passionate. Gu Shijiu was swept away and even had a buzzing sound lingering in her head. She felt her body going numb, and she almost fell out of his embrace. While they were passionately kissing, her top was opened, and his lips slowly traveled to her sensitive spots. Her heart was racing, and subconsciously, she tried to stop him. No, Shijiu, we are a married couple. I really miss you. He held her hand as he looked into her eyes. Gu Zijia's heart raced even faster. She somehow thought that they were indeed a married couple. Besides that, she never rejected his request to make love to her as she wanted him as well. However, the circumstances were rather odd. We are in a forest. Stupid, how is this place a forest? This is our bedroom. He carried her to the bed. Her light green dress was as messy as her heart rate. She took a look at her surroundings and was shocked. She was in her bedroom in the Saha world. It was all familiar furniture, the bed drapes she always had and the bed. The layout of her bedroom has never changed all these years. Mu Feng and his colleagues thought that it was too simple as there was not even a painting on the partition. Furthermore, her bed drapes were always in a single color. It did not look like the house of the Lord at all. They had wanted to renovate it for her, but she rejected. Although she did not like the layout of her bedroom, subconsciously, she did not want anyone to touch anything in the bedroom, as if she was trying to preserve something. She used to sleep in there every time she returned, hence, she was already used to the layout. That was the reason she could recognize the bedroom with just a glimpse. Nonetheless, she noticed that there were some differences in there. There were some drawings on the partition which was the scenery of Jiangnan. It was so detailed and accurate that one could feel like they could enter the painting as long as they fixed their eyes on the painting long enough. Besides that, the bed drapes were painted with lotus flowers and fishes. There was also a group of white herons flying across the sky. The bedroom, which was initially dull, had become lively after being filled with different colors. She jumped out of his arms and suddenly realized that it was supposed to be the style of this bedroom, which made her feel homey. Home. She has not felt at home for a long time. Of course, she only managed to idle for a very short time. Soon enough, she was already pressed down on the bed. The kisses were hot enough to melt her lips, and her heart rate was so familiar yet strange to her. She realized that she could not focus and began to feel numbness in her body. She could not remember anything at that moment, but subconsciously reacted to him and felt his touch as if it was something very normal between them. Certainly, she was not against it and slowly accepted his entry, his invasion, and everything about him. When he was sending her to the peak, she called his name as she trembled. Fui, Pack. Her hand hit something. She quickly opened her eyes as her body trembled. It was a white drape in front of her, a white blanket, and a shining luminous pearl. She realized the sky was bright. Gu Shijiu was sweating. She did not even know the date when she opened her eyes. After a while, she quickly touched her cheek after she regained her consciousness. Her face was burning, and her heart was still racing. Gosh! She had a dirty dream. It was so real as if it just happened. She suddenly recalled so many things. She remembered that she was still a virgin. She felt soreness on her body, and her face was burning as she sat there. How would she have such a dream? Did that really happen between Huang Tu and her? But the appearance of the man in her dream was. The man looked like Shen Nianma. Gosh! Gu Shizhou wrapped her arms around her knees and knocked her forehead hard. How could she dream about making love to that boy? That was sinful. She could never tell who the man was until today. Was Shen Nianma the reincarnation of Huang Tu? Her heart started racing again. Was it true? However, even when someone is reborn, they look slightly different as they would take after their parents. How could one look exactly the same as in their previous life? She tried to recall the appearance of the Master of the Heavenly Law in her dream, but unfortunately, she could not recall anything. Did she dream about him because she was overly concerned about his feelings? Or was he really the person in her dreams? After all, she once suspected that Shen Nianma was Huang Tu's reincarnation. She pondered again, and suddenly recalled the man in her dream wore a butterfly-shaped mask. It was exactly the same as the mask Di Fui wore. But, even if his appearance was exactly the same as in his previous life, the mask should not be, right? Master. Gu Shizhou was frightened by the sound that came from under her bed. After opening the bed drape, she noticed that Lu Wu was sitting on the floor with a cup of tea on its tail. Are you all right, Master? Gu Shizhou replied, I am fine. Master, did you have a nightmare earlier? You sounded weird. Gu Shizhou was speechless, and her face was heating up. Did she moan out loud? She coughed and changed the topic. Why are you holding a teacup? Are you thirsty? Lu Wu answered bashfully, you sounded weird, it was as though you were suffering. I thought you were thirsty, so I made a cup of tea for you so that you can feel better. I did not expect you to hit the cup. I tried my best to catch it. Gu Shizhou held her forehead as she remembered that she hit something when she woke up. Where did the water go? She took a look at her blanket, and Lu Wu quickly added, Master, I've dried the water, there is no stain on the blanket. Gu Shizhou looked at it strangely as she felt Lu Wu was too careful today, which was so different compared to its normal behavior. It must have done something terrible. What is wrong with you? Lu Wu lowered its head and answered, I am sorry, Master. It is my fault. I finished all the soup you gave to Mr. Fui, that was the reason he was pissed off and left angrily. I am the one who made you have nightmares, and you even called out his name in the dream. Gu Zijia's heart skipped a beat, she called his name in the dream. She remembered that she called Huang Tu, but suddenly her body was stiff as she seemed to remember something else. She might have called Fui in the dream when they were having an intimate moment. What was she doing? How desperate was she? Master, are you all right? Your face is red. Lu Wu drew closer. Gu Shizhou was annoyed and embarrassed. I'm fine, get out. Lu Wu's neck contracted as it asked, huh? Get out. Now. Lu Wu, you are already an adult. Lu Wu, you are already an adult, you should not sleep in the same room with me anymore. No more. Both you and the muscle should move out. Where is the muscle? She felt like she had not seen that big eater for an entire day. Lu Wu answered with a depressed tone, it has gone out hunting to get something for you, it did not want you to just eat vegetables. Instructor Long is a cheapskate. You helped him a lot before, but he could not even provide a good meal for you. Gu Shizhou rubbed her brows. It is not his fault. I am not allowed to eat meat at this stage. Forget about it. Just leave. Lu Wu left with its waggy tail, it looked depressed. Gu Shizhou did not worry about the muscle as it was quite strong in the continent and hardly encountered any predators. Besides that, it often went hunting, and usually, it would return with a bloated belly within 1 to 4 days. Since the sky was still dark, Gu Shizhou decided to meditate. However, she found it difficult to calm down with all the thoughts swirling in her mind. She still could not believe that she had a dirty dream. She even could not differentiate if she made love to Huang Tu or Di Fui in the dream. Was her action considered cheating? Perhaps, God was trying to remind her that she once loved Huang Tu very much and that she was not supposed to betray him. Or that Shen Nianma was indeed Huang Tu's reincarnation. Countless ideas crept into her head, and she was confused. She wanted to dismiss all the thoughts. The only way she could find out the truth was to help him to upgrade his spiritual power to the level of a mighty immortal. By that time, there would be an answer to her questions. After all, the mystical messenger said Huang Tu would return once she completes her mission. Di Fui was leaning against the headrest of his bed, idling. He had changed into his pajamas, which was made of incredibly comfy white silk. He was obsessed with cleanliness, hence, everything must be of the best quality. Although his pajamas were comfortable, he had to change it after a nap because he had a wet dream. He had never had a wet dream before and had never felt this way before he met Gu Shizhou. He began to have the desire and urge, which he never longed for before. This time, he even had a wet dream. The wet dream was strange. He was a third party initially, and he saw Gu Shizhou walking in the fog and chasing after someone named Huang Tuesday. At that moment, he had a very strange feeling, but he could tell what it was exactly. He did not understand the relationship between Huang Tu and her, however, he could tell that she was desperate for this man based on her facial expression and body language. He wanted to see Huang Tu's appearance so badly, but unfortunately, he only saw a blurred figure. In fact, his heart skipped a beat as he realized Huang Tu had a very similar body figure to his. He then watched them cuddling tightly, and he felt so shocked at the sight. His blood was boiling to the extent that he moved forward and separated them. To his surprise, he realized that he became Huang Tu, and his surrounding had suddenly changed into a bedroom. Di Fui felt that the layout and decoration of the bedroom looked very familiar and he was shocked to see her in his embrace. He also felt odd that he had taken over someone else's body in the dream. He was so desperate for her touch, as if a husband had finally reunited with his wife after centuries of being apart. The only thing he wanted to do when he saw her was to shower her with passionate love. It was certainly beyond Di Fui's expectation that he had his first sexual intercourse in a dream. It was a great experience. However, he had a very complicated feeling when he woke up from the dream. He cleaned himself first but could not manage to sleep anymore. How could the son of the divine couple be someone's replacement? Strangely enough, he enjoyed it. Although he was at the advantageous side as a substitute, he did not feel good when he woke up. It was not a random dream, but he planned for it. He knew a spell which could help him enter her dream. He was very upset and tired when he returned from Long Sai's residence, hence, he decided to take a rest, but he could not sleep as his mind was distracted by Gu Shizhou. He wanted to know what she was doing and what was on her mind. Thus, he entered her dream and even had a wet dream. Although he was sleepy, he could not sleep. He thought he was insane. He remembered that she had tricked him when he was young and he hated her so much. Furthermore, she just treated him as a target of her mission, and she was frank about it. However, he had fallen for her. He was surrounded by many talented girls, young and pretty, polite and capable. Unfortunately, he did not like them. He had hurt many girls before, but it was beyond his expectation to fall for Gu Shizhou. Perhaps it was indeed his karma. He thought about the dream again and wondered if the man was him in his previous life. Would that mean that he was her husband? He was shocked by the idea, but he also felt frustrated. She had a husband. He fell for a married woman. No, that was impossible. She was a virgin, right? It was impossible that she had a husband. Perhaps it was just purely a dirty dream. But the dream was so real. It felt so real. Di Fui was busy guessing as he sat up, unable to sleep. Your Highness, are you awake? Do you want to eat something? Baize's voice was heard from the outside. Di Fui heaved a sigh and got up. Fine. He then walked out of the room. He was indeed hungry since Lu Wu has finished all the soup. He was still a little pissed off when he thought about it. Darn. She knew he was upset and she knew he did not eat well for a few days, but she still allowed Lu Wu finished all the soup. She did not even try to keep him when he left. She did not even care about him. Baize had prepared a tableful of good breakfast for him. There was a variety of choices such as porridge and vegetables, some meats, wine, and a bowl of milky fish soup. Di Fui stared at the fish soup and then took a glimpse at Bai Zhe. Bai Zhe smiled gently. Your Highness, do you like it? Di Fui took a sip. Honestly speaking, it was delicious. It was even nicer than the one Gu Shijiu made. He dug in silently and made a request after he finished his breakfast. Bai Zhe, teach me how to cook. Tat.